a little bit of time just to start to unpack some of what we just watched, but then I'm hoping we can also take it back to a lens of, as a community of faith, as Christians, what's the Christian response to this type of injustice? Since we do recognize racism as a sin, even if it is not always illegal, it is always sinful, and so that's something that we want to address as well. So anybody sort of have any initial thoughts on what we just watched? Sorry? Horror. Had many people watched the clips of the various? I had avoided several of them, and I didn't really realize that I had avoided them and not watched them until I watched this documentary.
Was that Brian Stevenson?
I don't know.
What did she say? Was that Brian Stevenson, the guy at the very end?
Who was speaking? I am not sure. Yeah. The media personality? I know I've seen him on various.
No, Brian Stevenson is the Just Mercy author.
Yeah,
He's the head of the Southern Poverty Justice.
Oh, so it's already Law Center?
No, it's not the Law Center. It's he's got his own.
He's got his own company, but he was the one that wrote Just Mercy.
Yeah. Personally, I'm ashamed. Just colossally ashamed.
I think you shouldn't be ashamed. You haven't done anything.
Oh, but it's part of the system, and it's been going on for so long. I mean, it goes on all over the world in one way or another, you know.
Right, slavery is a fact of life.
Right.
Am I happy as a black man, proud? I am proud, but am I okay with the things that happened to my ancestors, my relatives? No.
Do you know about your own past, your family's past?
I've lived all that.
Really?
60s, yeah.
Do you know how much we need you here? We really do.
Yeah, wish there was more of me here.
Yes, yes.
So do we.
For better, more perspectives. My life has been relatively easy, simple, normal. But it's been around me. You know, I guess it's family, friends.
You're lucky to be two of the three instead of one of the three.
Exactly. No, blessed. Blessed.
So how do we start a bigger conversation?
That's a great question. I mean, because like we're saying, like we look around the room and it's a pretty wide room and it's a pretty wide congregation, and it's been said that 10 a.m. on Sunday morning is the most segregated hour in America.
I think we do what we're doing right now.
I don't know if that's still the case, but that used to be the soundbite that when we worship is when we self-segregate, quote unquote, is the term, more than any other time during the week.
But I think this is a really important point. I mean, I think, what was mentioned is that we need to do more of what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
I think we need to separate out patriotism from racism. That's how I want to say it. Because I think there are too many people who think, I love my country, and therefore if somebody shouts USA, USA, I should follow that person, even though the fruits of that behavior is clearly racist, sexist, name all the ifs that you can put. And yet, as a church, we sit side by side with people who are okay with that. We sit side by side with people who would put that on Facebook amongst their other parishioners in this church.
Really?
And I think
How do I know we don't have those conversations?
our national identity is so entwined with racism that when there was a mass protest of kneeling to protest police brutality, it was seen as a protest of America.
Yes, that's
And then
Yeah, so it is a real issue, that it's difficult because we all have love of our country in our own ways, things about being American that we appreciate, but we can't then criticize.
But that was made that way because we were told that
Yes.
by the media, not no one made up their own mind. It just became the issue. And that in itself is the issue with the beginning of this that we just saw with Trump doing USA. I mean, he told us that. That's what we're supposed to believe.
But he's still doing it.
Of course he is.
Wall fight is, I think, kind of a racism kind of thing.
Absolutely.
He says we'll be able to keep out drug traffickers and all of them,
Terrorists,
all of that because of the wall. And I'm thinking, are you really that stupid?
Yes.
They're not going anywhere near that wall. They're all,
It's not stupid, I think that's just that belief.
right. But I see the same thing from what we saw in the history in this documentary. It's the same type of rhetoric.
So how do we start? How do we, this very small little group right here, what do we do? Where do we start? That's the question.
So a couple of things that I'm gonna put out there. There's an anti-racism training on Saturday, February 2nd that's led by RIC, which is the Southeast Michigan Synod's anti-racism task force. So that's gonna be at Lord of Light. It's from 10 a.m. I think it's into the afternoon to like 4 p.m. But if that's something that you're interested in, it's like a real deep dive into how, particularly as our faith community, we can start to address racism. There's also a great organization called Allies for Change. Allies for Change is meant to supplement and not replace conversations about race that are led by people of color, but this is sort of specifically for white people to help other white people be better about talking about and addressing race. So if it's something you're interested in, they have classes all throughout March, April, May. There is a cost associated with those classes, but their website is alliesforchange.org, and there's some good resources there. We also have Black History Month coming up. There's a lot of great things going on in the community, and so I really encourage people to look into that. This is not the only part of the conversation, but just saying like celebrating Black culture and all that it's brought, and not letting anyone take away from us the fact that by sharing and by collaborating, you know, different racial groups, we've all been better people for it. The diversity makes us all better and stronger. And so I think celebrating is also important and not just fighting white supremacy, which we should also do.
I would add to that, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. I would add to that learning more about our history. If you haven't read, or if it's been a long time since you looked at history, I just finished reading Frederick Douglass, the new book by David Blight. And David Blight is I believe a Harvard or one of those Ivy League professor type people. And it's a very lengthy read about the life of Frederick Douglass. And the takeaway for me, and of course I heard of Frederick Douglass, but the takeaway for me was that after the 13th Amendment passed and the Civil War ended, he celebrated with all the abolitionists because he thought the battle was won. Only to have in 1983 the Supreme Court literally say that it didn't matter what the 13th Amendment was. States had a right to do whatever they wanted. And so then states were able to start systematic Jim Crow. And it was just such a, you know, because the pain of the Civil War was so great. We all know that story. But to know that a full almost 20 years later, this happens, and then it's just one problem after another. That leads us to 1965 or 1964 with the Equal Right Amendment. But there that whole 100 years from 1865 to 1965, nothing really good happened. I mean, it was just hope and dash, hope and dash. And for me, that was just like, okay, I didn't really have that whole picture, but I think I've got it now, and I can understand better what that angst is about. So.
What was the name of the book that you said?
Frederick Douglass is the name of the book, and it's by David Blight.
I just want to say this is timely for our Thursday morning men's group. In Thursday morning men's group, we just started reading a book called The Burden, African Americans and the Enduring Impact of Slavery. I was watching this and going, well, this sounds really familiar. particularly the first one. Now, I can't talk about the whole book because I've only read the first chapter, but the first essay is very powerful and eye-opening. It's by a woman named Rochelle Riley. And it looks like it's going to be a really good book. I think it's going to take a much deeper dive into just what we watched here.
So is it a series of essays? Not
It's a series of essays,
Okay.
yeah.
Is it Rochelle Riley? She's a Detroit,
Rochelle
Free
Riley.
Press.
Right.
So, so while I'm always, interested in education, to sort of inform, whatever I do. But I think equally important is actually to not develop an approach that allows us to bury our head in the sand and do nothing. Because, while, it is commonplace, I think, to think that the problem is too big for me to solve. And to some degree, that's probably true. But at the same point in time, that does not mean you can't have a personal impact. Our community is, overwhelmed with need. And you might not be able to satisfy, bigotry and racism in our country, but certainly you can actually be the face of Christ and actually helping your fellow man in your own community. And whether that person is white or black or yellow or whatever, that's not what we're called to do. And so I think for a long time, it's been very Ann Arbor-esque to actually dive into books and actually online materials to learn more. And again, I'm an academic. I appreciate the desire to do that. But that's not where Christ actually calls us to do things. We're supposed to be the hands, the voice, the presence, of love in our community. And so I would appeal to you, I would beg you to actually not just pursue, this knowledge, as important as it might be, historical or, otherwise, but rather to, in not such a colorful way, get off our duffs
All right,
and actually do something.
So give us specifics. For instance,
There are thousands of volunteer opportunities.
I know, but for most people sitting at home already overwhelmed with things they're doing or wanting to do, it's just helpful to say, for Pastor Vicki to say, make a lunch for us for Wednesday. Come and join us for the luncheon on Wednesday. That's a start.
We had a hand up in the back row.
I think one thing we can do is just learn how in every conversation we can speak the truth. My kids always say, why didn't you say anything when Cousin Pete made those racist remarks? Well, we were always trying to keep peace in the family on Christmas Day or whatever. But I want to recommend this BRIC group. I've seen them work at Lutheran Summer Camp on February 2nd. They have, at least the times I went, a white pastor and a black pastor working together. Each of them, as I recall, was married to somebody of the opposite race, or white is black, it was black and white. And they had kids from many different diverse, backgrounds and colors. And they gave us very specific things that you could do or say. They did a lot of simulations, telling people, when this happens, this is how you can do it, or this will have a game or something to help you understand what it might be like to grow up in poverty. Just a lot of very practical things. They worked with the kids for a whole week, so an intense day will just give you a tip of it. But I think it's in just every conversation, about patriotism or something, to be able to say, I see what you're saying, but there's this going on too, and to not be afraid to speak that truth when we confront people.
And that's what I'll just say, there are also bystander intervention trainings that are offered by the Interfaith Council for Peace and Justice, and so it doesn't just address race, but religion, ableism, all these different things. When you hear somebody say something or see an incident of harassment, giving you the skills on how to intervene and have a more productive conversation.
So, okay, the BRIC thing at Lord of Light on Saturday, what?
February 2nd.
February 2nd.
Yeah.
Okay, what does it take to get signed up for that?
So they have a Facebook event, and you can RSVP on that.
So
They
we don't do
have-
Facebook.
Okay, so
don't
we
do
can get
Facebook.
Elizabeth's email address, I can write that up right now. Have
Can we
her
sign
send
people
over-
up today?
Absolutely.
I mean, I've already done brick, but,
I have too. I took a 2-day thing
Oh, great.
for brick, and it was eye-opening.
yeah.
So it's really good. You know, Bob, I think actions are really great, but I would venture to guess that the people sitting in the pews upstairs haven't a clue about stuff like this. And you need to just make them so sensitive. We all need to be sensitive.
How do you do that?
I'm not sure, but to me there are two things. There's action, and you know, we could have a series of things here where we help prisoners coming out of
Incarceration.
incarceration, and there are groups who do that. I know there are. I don't think they do it with women right now, but we could work something like that. I mean, there are a lot of things we could do, as Bob indicated, but I think our congregation is just not there. They just don't get it.
It's that first
I think
step.
that's what we're doing now, is trying to.
Yeah, you're right,
Small
you're right.
group.
Well, it's gotta start somewhere.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right.
So how do we spread this?
Just spread it yourself.
I think,
Talk to people.
Well, I do,
Well,
yeah.
there you go.
Well, we do the Wednesday lunch
Every week.
every week. I mean, we drive the bus, we go to the Lannis, we pick up people. But you know what? There's only like 2 other people from the congregation besides the pastors that are here during that lunch every week. And so the people that come see only us few people every week, and it's like, oh, they don't really care. You know, this congregation doesn't care because they don't.
There's Diane from the office,
Yeah.
us, and like she said, a couple other people who come regularly.
Avis,
Davis. And so, you know, and I understand that we're retired, we can do it, and people who work can't.
Right.
But,
So that's
you know,
that's
Once in a while.
yeah.
But the thing is that a lot of times people aren't providing food for it either. You know, Diane makes the food every week, and Pastor Vicky's always asking for money for the God and Grub because she doesn't have a line item in the budget. And it's like, well, they've got to just have this little bit of stuff. This past week, we didn't have enough food. You know, and so, you know, we've got to do other things.
Well, number one, why isn't there a line item in the budget?
I don't know.
Because the budget was made before God and Grove got going.
Yeah, but we just.
Yes, it was, we just went through this in council. So,
And regardless, let me tell you, our experience has been, yes, I will say, there are a few in the group who are gimme, but that's black and white. And I don't care. But there are so many of those people who come, and I don't show it anymore, but I am uncomfortable with them constantly thanking me. Well, thank you because I drive the bus, they get off the bus, thank you for driving. Stop, I drive, go, so what? But it's their way of saying, son, I finally found somebody who cares. And they thank Pastor Vicky, Pastor Jim, Diane, and anybody who's there. You know, if you want a rewarding experience, that's one of them. And it's get you an idea of some of the problems. I've sat and talked to some of these people. They wanted to talk. The first time it happened, I was kind of like, do I really want to hear all that? But now I put my hand on there. So I put my hand like, I'm sorry you went through that. It's emotional for me too.
I met a man in the pews who came to the church service because of Pastor Vicky. He made it very clear to me, as he didn't sing the songs, that he wasn't there to worship God, but he loved Pastor Vicky. He needs to know more Pastor Vicky. He needs to see the face of Christ in more of us.
The thing of it is they'll get on the bus, and I'm looking this Wednesday, they're going to say, is Pastor Vicky there? Oh, she's in this one. What? You know,
Oh, Pastor Joe's preaching this Sunday.
No, not Sunday,
Wednesday.
So, I can't do a noon thing, but I did for the first time, I did the dinner, I made the dinner for the rotating. Yeah.
That was fun.
And we just hung out, I just hung out with them, and actually, I have a friend on my phone now that I met there, and we just send little things back and forth, and prayer is an action also that can be taken, and I think that and it's a private thing, but it's something else that we could do is meet a person, one person, connect with them at one of those things, and pray for them, and just develop a relationship, because it then emanates out.
Can I take a moment to tell a story about Chicago? There was a black gentleman who was going through a hard time, going through divorce. What was his name? Kevin. And I shared my story about our daughter, and he was, oh my God, and we talked, but he talked about some things that he was going through. Well, fast forward several months, I'm walking my dogs through another part of our neighborhood, that's across the main road. And I see this car go past me and stop, pull back. As a mother going to ask me for directions, and I really don't know this part of the neighborhood. It was him. He was just going through there. He had seen that there was a couple of garage sales going, and he stopped and he joked around with me because we ended up joking around. And he said, by the way, I really want to thank you. You helped me through a dark time.
Yeah.
And so those are the kind of things that you can experience. Not all of them are like that. I don't know that.
Right.
But it's great.
I think that the few of us here today, we could make a big impact by just talking to other people. And then you start somewhere, and then it grows out. It's not gonna happen overnight. It's not gonna happen in a week. We also have to realize that the power of this congregation is big. And we know that, we're going through this whole thing trying to understand so that we can have the congregation say, yes, let's be that kind of church. But the point is, we also have to have the people that don't get down here. We need to have this brought to the congregation through the pulpit. Now, we have to, because there are too many people that will never get down here.
Well, in the end of the documentary, before they show all those clips, they say there's something to being shocked into action, too. And it's not something we like to do because it's not polite.
Yeah, right.
To force the conversation about race. But otherwise, most people in this space have the privilege to not engage in it if they don't want to. They can avoid it. And I think that's another thing that we can do. So often when we talk about addressing race and that other thing, we invite people into our space. But what about going into other people's space as well?
Then you would be less likely to say anything if you were in the other space.
You guys kind of make me feel alienated.
Sorry.
Because, you talk about helping somebody of another race, and I am. But I work as a peer support person at VA Hospital, and I get to work with vets who have PTSD and depression, suffer from PTSD and depression. So I work with not only blacks, but whites, Mexicans, and on and on and on. And I developed that as a peer. That's my job, to develop that kind of personal and supportive relationship. And I can't tell you how rewarding that is for me. I've worked with Pastor Vicky and putting a vet into an apartment, furnishing it, food, giving him food, the whole day. He's a happy camper.
And can I ask you, how have you managed in this white church for so long?
Wonderful people like you. Like you and you.
But this is where I want to reiterate again that we are all better people for having had leaders of many different color, artists of so many different colors and backgrounds in our lives. That's raised up our culture and all of our consciousness. And so celebrating that and not just having to be a conversation about how do we, save the 1 in 3 black men who are going to prison. Yes, that's something that needs to be addressed. But we're also better for having had one another. And that's worth celebrating.
That's been the support for me. To see the right side, the good side, a better side.
Yeah.
And I can take that to somebody else as a peer and deliver it. You too. Can be this.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that if you really want to see a Christian community in action, it's worth visiting John Cummings' Grace in Action in South Detroit. I mean, that's a real multicultural Christian community that happens to have a church service on Sunday. It's a community first, church second. It's a wonderful church also, but they, we've done a couple of work days. We've taken people from Zion down to do work days there, and it's such a great experience. What they're doing wonderful things down there, and we should do another of those work days. It'd be a good thing to do this spring because it really is a great experience for us as well as it helps them. But it's a great experience for the people that go from Zion.
I would just point out that Grace in Action is supported by your Southeast Michigan Synod.
Right. It's a Lutheran community. Right?
Yeah. I want to invite the ladies, to exclude men, but I go to a women's Bible study at Shekinah, which is, I don't understand how it's where it is, but it's like in this cornfield on, you know where it is?
South Church.
Yeah, South Church. It's from 10 to 12 on Saturday mornings right now, this new one. And it is very, very diverse. Like, it is the opposite of Zion. Like people are moving and singing, and I can be free there, which I feel weird about being free here. With even my kids would be like, "Mom, don't move." The word sing something, because it's a whole different vibe here. But you might want to check it out. It's really cool. A friend of mine invited me to it, and
can you say again what it's called?
Shekinah, Shekinah. It's not. And
go ahead.
There's a Bible study there. We're doing the armor of God, which is Ephesians. I don't know if you've ever read Ephesians, but it's like completely new to. I mean, I've been reading the Bible, but I don't know the Bible, and it's.
It means the glory of the divine presence, conventionally represented as light or interpreted symbolically. It's Jewish and Christian theology.
It is not found in the Bible as a term.
Oh, it isn't?
No. Well, whatever.
Okay, maybe that's one example of
Well,
instead
whatever.
of inviting.
If you want to
people
come,
here,
come.
go
If
there.
it's weird for you, and it might be weird for you, because I know even my own children would not. They would be like, "What is this?" It might be weird for you, so you might not want to come.
Okay, so where is it?
It's on
Scioto Church.
Scioto Church Road.
Between Wagner and Z.
Thank you. Yep.
But, I mean,
Look it up on the internet, I'm sure it's on.
South side, I think it's the south side of the road.
So I attended the OSM retirement planning session this past week, and I've done it now for the second year in a row. And it's attended by a bunch of academics and some staff. It's a really good program. But for the last 2 years, I've been stunned by the number of what I would call highly educated professionals who have gotten to a certain age in life and realized that their career is gonna end. And yet they have spent no time outside their careers in large part to figure out what is next. And beyond that, what's even more stunning is that they expect to be spoon-fed the information about what to do next that's going to tap into their own passion. And quite honestly, it fills me with rage. Because here you have people that are cardiovascular or neurosurgeons who are some of the brightest people on the planet, and yet they can't figure out exactly what to do with the rest of their life. And I feel this odd rage and sort of sorrow for them. That they actually, can't pick up their phone or, their computer, or even go to the United Way website that is now, practically canned a set of filters for you to figure out what 1,015 volunteer opportunities are available in just Washtenaw County. I mean, it is amazing, absolutely amazing. And yet, I think there are a lot of such people in our communities.
Do you find any difference between male and female retirees in that regard?
I don't know that I have a large enough end. Certainly, many of the people that I'm most struck with so far in the 2 years have been men. So
that makes sense.
People have to head off to work, but I do encourage you, if you do have a Netflix account, to watch the middle section, if you were here last week, the middle section of this documentary, because there are things that we can do with how we spend our money, the companies that are benefiting off of mass incarceration. I mean, the way that we vote, there are so many different actions that we can be taking, and I really encourage you to bring up race sometime in the next week, in conversations that you're having. We have to talk about it. Things are gonna change.
Is this a YouTube thing or?
That's on Netflix, and it's called 13.
Next week?
Yes, YouTube will watch it because it's got net